Welcome to the Prescott Lab podcast, not just theory, practical science for everyone. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, a physician and integrative medicine researcher at the Ravenshade Institute for Human Health. And today, I want to speak directly to the men out there, especially those over 60, who have been wondering quietly, maybe even privately, is it just age, or is there something I can do? Well, it's because what if I told you the problem wasn't your age at all? What if it was inflammation, poor circulation, a drop in hormones? And what if the answer wasn't found in a pill, but in something you've walked past 1,000 times in the grocery aisle? A nut, a humble, familiar, unassuming walnut. But stay with me, because what I'm about to share may be the most practical and powerful thing you'll hear this week. Now, before we dive into the 10 surprising benefits of walnuts for men over 60, I want to ask you for something small but meaningful. If you haven't subscribed to this podcast yet, hit that button now. Why? Because the men who subscribe to this channel tend to feel better, sleep deeper, and perform stronger. Coincidence? Maybe. But I've learned sometimes luck shows up right after commitment. And if you give this video a like, let me offer you this. May your heart stay steady, your mornings feel lighter, and may your next checkup bring better news than you expected. And if something in this message speaks to you, even just a little, drop a 1 in the comments. If not, drop a 0 and tell me what you'd rather hear more about. I'm here for you not just to teach, but to listen. It's because what we're about to uncover isn't hype. It's biology, it's hope. And it all starts with one simple thing: blood flow. Let's begin. Benefit number 1, opens blood vessels and increases nitric oxide. Just a few months ago, I sat down with Patrick. He's 67, a retired aerospace engineer. Stoic, disciplined, still walks every morning like clockwork. But that day, his voice held a quiet tremble. "Doc, something's off, no pain, no illness, but I just feel like the blood doesn't move the way it used to. Like something inside me is slowing down." We didn't start with medication, we started with walnuts. I told him, "Patrick, add one small handful of walnuts to your breakfast, do that every day, then come back in 3 weeks." Well, he came back with something more powerful than confidence. "Hope. Doc," he said, "I don't know why, but I feel like something's returning, like my body remembers how to flow again." And there's real science behind that. Walnuts are rich in L-arginine. It's an amino acid that your body uses to produce nitric oxide. Nitric oxide tells your blood vessels to relax, to open up, to let the blood move freely, especially to the places where aging hits men the hardest. Without nitric oxide, even perfect testosterone levels won't help. The signal gets blocked. The strength never shows up. That's why this simple food matters. Walnuts don't just feed your body. They restore the pathways that connect your mind, your blood, and your manhood. So let me ask you, have you ever felt what Patrick felt? That quiet decline, like something strong inside you was slowly drifting away? If so, leave a comment. Just type 1 if this speaks to you. Or 0 if you're unsure and want to hear something different. I read every single one. Because sometimes, one sentence from you becomes the seed of our next conversation. Benefit number 2, lowers inflammation, especially in the prostate. Let me introduce you to Gerald. He's 72 years old, retired fireman, tough as nails, still chops wood behind his cabin in upstate New York. But when he came into my office, he leaned in and whispered something most men wouldn't say out loud. "Doc, I'm up 3 or 4 times a night, not for dreams, for the bathroom." So I asked him how long it had been going on. He said years. I just assumed it was part of getting old. But here's the truth. Frequent nighttime urination, a weak stream, that constant pressure. They're not just signs of aging, they're signs of inflammation. And in men over 60, the most common place it strikes is the prostate. So we made a plan: anti-inflammatory nutrition, no drastic changes. Just one thing added: a handful of walnuts every day. You see, walnuts are packed with omega-3 fatty acids, polyphenols, and antioxidants. A powerful trio that's been shown to reduce systemic inflammation. and that includes inflammation in the prostate gland. After just 5 weeks, Gerald came back, same rugged look, but a softer tone. Doc, I slept through the night, haven't done that in 10 years. Whatever this walnut thing is, it's working. This isn't just one man's story. It's what the research supports. Regular walnut intake is associated with reduced levels of C-reactive protein, a key marker of inflammation. And when inflammation cools down, the prostate breathes easier. So do your nights. So does your dignity. Now I want to ask you something. Have you experienced anything similar to Gerald? Are those late-night trips wearing you down, or maybe you've already tried walnuts and want to share your results? Drop a comment below. Let's make this a place where older men talk real. No shame, just solutions. Benefit number 3, supports brain health and sharpens memory. Let me tell you about Dwayne. He's 61, a former history teacher, brilliant memory, could once recite entire paragraphs from old textbooks without blinking. But during our last visit, he sat down, tapped his forehead and said, "Doc, it's like the filing cabinet up here is jammed. The words are in there somewhere, but the drawer won't open." That hit me hard, because I've heard it more and more from men his age, and here's the thing. We always talk about heart health, prostate health, even testosterone. But the brain, the seat of memory, clarity, identity, rarely gets the spotlight. Now, before I go deeper, let me read you 2 comments we got on last week's episode. One from Ron M's. He wrote, "Doc, love your show, but can walnuts really do anything for the brain, or is that just internet hype?" And another from someone named Truthseeker60. "Are there any real studies showing walnuts help with memory, or is this just wishful thinking?" Great questions. Let me answer both right now. Yes, there's actual research. A study from UCLA showed that higher walnut consumption was associated with better cognitive function scores in adults. Why? Because walnuts contain polyphenols and vitamin E, which help reduce oxidative stress in the brain. They also deliver ALA, a plant-based omega-3 known to support neuron integrity and communication. In other words, they don't just fill you up. They fuel the brain, quietly, steadily, every day, and here's the poetic part. The walnut looks like a brain for a reason. Nature leaves clues, so if you've been feeling foggy, if names are escaping you, or you've walked into a room and forgotten why you're there, you're not alone, but you're not powerless either. Start with something simple, a daily dose of walnuts. Think of it as nourishment for the mind you're going to carry into your 70s, 80s, and beyond. And hey, if you've ever had a "where are my keys" moment, leave a comment and tell me what you forgot this week. Let's laugh about it together, because healing gets easier when we stop hiding. Benefit number 4, boosts testosterone naturally. A man named Malcolm, 65, came into my office last fall. Former construction foreman. Still had broad shoulders, calloused hands, and that steady, no-nonsense look. But when we sat down, his words betrayed something more fragile. "Doc," he said, "I want to keep showing up. Not just for work, not just for chores, but for my wife, for myself. Problem is, I feel like something's dimming inside me." Now, when men talk about energy, they're rarely talking about caffeine. They're talking about something deeper. The fire that once burned without effort. That quiet pulse that made you feel alive, capable, magnetic, and testosterone is a big part of that fire. Not in excess, not like the ads scream at you, but steady, balanced, rooted. Here's the truth. Your body needs raw materials to make testosterone. And that's where walnuts come in, not as a miracle pill, but as reliable fuel. They provide healthy fats, zinc, and magnesium, the exact building blocks your endocrine system relies on. They also reduce oxidative stress and support Leydig cells, the tiny testosterone factories in your testes. No factory runs well when it's under siege. Walnuts help calm the storm. Malcolm started small, a handful in the afternoon, not expecting much, but 2 weeks later he emailed me. "Doc, I don't know what changed, but I'm waking up sharper, more myself." Now here's the part that might surprise you. That shift didn't just come from food, it came from hope. From the act of choosing himself again, let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt fully on, not just functional, but powerful? Leave a fire in the comments if you've ever felt like your fire's been flickering, or share your story, because someone reading it might see themselves in you. Benefit number 5 helps control blood sugar and cravings. Let me tell you about Leonard. He's 69, retired school principal, disciplined, sharp, a man who built his life around order and reason. But one night he told me something odd. I eat dinner, I'm full, but by 9 p.m. it's like my body forgets. I'm standing in the kitchen, opening the pantry like a man possessed. I smiled because I've heard this before. Many men assume it's just willpower slipping, but there's more to the story. As testosterone decreases, insulin sensitivity can decline, which means blood sugar spikes more easily, and when it crashes, it drags your mood and cravings down with it. Late-night snacking isn't just about hunger, it's often your body's desperate cry to restore balance. That's where walnuts enter the picture, quietly but powerfully. They contain fiber, healthy fats, and alpha-linolenic acid. This trio slows digestion, improves satiety, and helps blunt blood sugar spikes after meals. In fact, walnuts act like a dimmer switch. They don't shut cravings off entirely, they soften them, they give you back the choice. Leonard replaced his sugary snacks with a few walnuts and a glass of warm water before bed. Within 10 days, he said, "My cravings still whisper, but now I don't have to listen." A viewer named Jacob left a comment recently. He asked, "Doc, why do I eat clean all day and still lose control at night?" Here's my reply, Jacob, and to all the men asking the same. Your willpower isn't broken, your biology just needs backup, so tell me this. What's the one snack you wish you could stop reaching for at night? Drop it below, say it out loud. Sometimes naming it is the first step to reclaiming it. And while you're here, if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Think of that subscribe button like your walnut habit. Unassuming, but one click that could keep you steady when the cravings kick in. Benefit number 6, supports heart health and improves circulation. Patrick, 71, once rode his bike 15 miles every Sunday. Now he says even walking up a flight of stairs makes his calves burn and his fingers go cold. It's like my body's engine still turns on, he told me, but the fuel isn't getting where it needs to go. What he described, that sense of slowing, of energy not reaching the edges, is classic vascular decline. It's not about the heart pumping less. It's about the highways of blood narrowing, stiffening, resisting the flow. Here's what many men miss. Circulation isn't just about avoiding heart attacks. It's about delivering oxygen and nutrients to your brain, your skin, your muscles, your manhood. And when blood flow fades, vitality follows. But there's hope. Because even at 70, your endothelium, the delicate lining of your arteries, is still listening, still responsive to the right signals. And walnuts speak that language. They're rich in L-arginine and polyphenols, which support nitric oxide production. That helps vessels relax, expand, and let life move again. A recent study from Yale found that regular walnut consumption improved endothelial function in older adults in just 4 weeks. No prescriptions, just persistence. I asked Patrick last month if he stuck with it. Well, he smiled and said, "My hands aren't warm yet, but I walked 3 blocks yesterday without stopping. That hasn't happened in months." Then he added something I didn't expect. "Doc, for the first time in a while, I feel like something's reopening in me, not just blood flow, me." One of our longtime listeners, Frank, commented recently, "My feet tingle every morning. Is that poor circulation?" Well, yes, Frank, it often is. But more importantly, it's your body asking for help. And help can start small, even with a handful of walnuts. Now I'll ask you, have you felt your hands colder? Are your legs getting heavier during walks? Tell me below, because your comment could be the push another man needs to pay attention before it's too late. Benefit number 7, reduces inflammation and joint pain. Gerald is 66. He used to love woodworking, building tables, carving details, sanding corners until they felt like silk. But last winter, he sat across from me and said, "I had to put the tools down, Doc. My fingers won't close right anymore. They swell up like little balloons after an hour in the garage." That's inflammation. Not the heroic kind that fights infection. The slow, smoldering fire that eats at your joints and drains your will. For men past 60, it's one of the silent enemies. It doesn't always scream, it just limits. A little stiffness here, a little ache there, until one day your hobbies become memories. But here's where walnuts shine again. They're not just brain food or heart food, they're joint food too. Their omega-3 content, especially alpha-linolenic acid, has been shown to reduce C-reactive protein, a key marker of systemic inflammation. They also contain polyphenols, which act like little fire extinguishers for the inflammatory pathways in your body. Gerald started having a small handful of walnuts mid-morning alongside turmeric tea. 3 weeks in, he told me, "I carved again, it wasn't perfect, but I didn't swell up after. It felt like a piece of me came back." We got a comment recently from a man named Alan. He wrote, "My knees crack like gunfire. Can food actually help, or am I just old?" Alan, aging isn't a sentence, it's a negotiation. And the right foods can change the terms. Let me ask you this. If there's one thing you used to love doing, a physical thing, but you stopped because your joints said no, what was it? Type it in the comments. Not for me, for yourself. Because naming what we miss is often the first step to getting it back. Benefit number 8 supports gut health and digestion. Dennis, 64, is a retired firefighter. He's tough, ran into burning buildings, pulled people out with his bare hands. But he came to see me for something surprisingly common. "Doc," he said, "I can handle pain, but this bloating, the gas, the cramps, it makes me feel off, like something's not right inside." He'd tried cutting dairy, reducing carbs, skipping meals. Still, every afternoon, discomfort, tight belly, brain fog, low energy. We ran some basic tests, no major disease, but the underlying issue, a disrupted gut microbiome. As we age, the diversity of our gut bacteria declines. That shift can cause digestion to slow, inflammation to rise, and nutrients to be poorly absorbed. Enter walnuts. They're rich in fiber, prebiotics, and polyphenols, the perfect trio for feeding the good bacteria. Studies from Penn State show that walnuts help increase beneficial strains like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, while reducing inflammation in the gut lining. Dennis added a small serving mid-afternoon, and just 2 weeks later he emailed, "Doc, I don't know if it's the walnuts or magic, but I'm not bloated anymore. And I've stopped unbuttoning my pants at 3 p.m. Now let's turn to some of your questions, because this topic always stirs up great ones. 1. Can I eat walnuts if I have diverticulosis? Yes, in moderation. Old advice said to avoid nuts, but newer studies show they're safe and might even help. 2. Do walnuts make you gassy? If you're not used to fiber, they can at first, but give it time, your gut will adapt. 3. What's better, soaked or raw? Soaked walnuts may be easier to digest for some. Try both, see how your body feels. 4. Is walnut oil the same? It has some benefits, especially for heart health, but it lacks the fiber, so not as gut-friendly. 5. Can walnuts help with constipation? Yes, the fiber and healthy fats can gently support regularity. Just don't expect a laxative effect. I love seeing your questions because they show you're engaged, not just consuming information, but living it. Now let me ask you this. Have you ever had gut issues that made you feel not yourself? Drop a quick yes or no in the comments, or tell me more if you're up for it. Because the gut, more than any other system, affects how we feel not just physically but emotionally. Benefit number 9 supports weight management. Robert is 62. He used to be a runner, then came the desk job, the late-night snacks, the slow drift from lean to sluggish. By the time he came to see me, he'd tried everything: keto, intermittent fasting, skipping dinner altogether. He said, Doc, I don't eat that much, but I still can't shake the belly, and I'm tired all the time. That last line was the clue, because weight isn't just about calories. It's about how your metabolism functions or misfires. And here's what most men don't realize. Low testosterone, high insulin, and chronic inflammation create a perfect storm for stubborn weight gain, especially around the belly. Walnuts aren't magic, but they're metabolic allies. They're dense in healthy fats and fiber, which increase satiety and reduce overeating later in the day. More importantly, they may help rebalance leptin, your satiety hormone, and calm inflammatory signals that keep fat cells on lockdown. In a study from Harvard, participants who replaced a daily snack with a serving of walnuts had better appetite regulation and improved metabolic markers, even without changing total calories. Robert tried it. Mid-morning snack gone, walnuts and water instead. 3 weeks later, he said, I don't crash at 2 p.m. anymore and I'm down 5 pounds, but the real win, I want to move again. And that right there is how it begins. Not with weight loss, with energy returning, with the desire to show up again in your own body. Now let's hear from you. What's the hardest part about managing your weight after 60? Drop a comment, even one word. Cravings, energy, a motivation. Let's name it together. You're not alone in this. And the more honest we are, the stronger we get. Benefit number 10 supports brain health and memory. Thomas is 74, a retired architect, still sharp, still witty, but lately he'd been losing track of names. Walking into rooms forgetting why, his biggest fear. That I'll forget my wife's face someday, he whispered. Cognitive decline isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's a quiet unraveling, and for men over 60, it's more common than most want to admit. But your brain is not doomed to fade. It's a living organ constantly rewiring, rebuilding, responding, and food is part of that story. Walnuts are often called brain food not just because they look like miniature brains, but because they're rich in alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, a plant-based omega-3 that supports neuron integrity. They also contain antioxidants that fight oxidative stress in the brain, the same stress that accelerates memory loss and fog. In a UCLA study, adults who consumed walnuts regularly showed significantly better cognitive function scores across memory, concentration, and processing speed. Thomas didn't wait. He started a simple ritual, every evening a handful of walnuts with chamomile tea. 3 months later, he told me, I still forget things, but I'm not afraid anymore. I feel like I'm helping my brain, not just watching it slip. Now let me answer a few quick questions some of you have already asked in the comments. 1. Can walnuts reverse dementia? No, but they can slow down age-related decline, especially when added early. 2. How many walnuts a day for memory? Studies suggest about 1 to 1.5 ounces daily, that's around 7-9 whole walnuts. 3. Is it better to eat them in the morning or night? Both are fine, morning for energy, evening for recovery and sleep support. 4. What if I'm allergic to nuts? Please avoid them entirely. Seek other omega-3 sources like flaxseed or chia. 5. Do roasted walnuts still help the brain? Light roasting is okay, but raw or lightly toasted preserves the most nutrients. Now I'll ask you this. What's one memory you never want to lose? Write it in the comments. Let's remind ourselves and each other of what truly matters. Conclusion, the power of a handful. So here we are, 10 reasons, 10 different systems in the male body, and yet just one simple food, the humble walnut, not a magic pill, not a quick fix, but a daily ally. Something small enough to hold in your hand and strong enough to shape your future. If you're a man over 60, you already know this truth deep down, your body is changing. But change doesn't mean collapse, it can mean awakening. And sometimes the first spark of that awakening is as simple as choosing what you put on your plate. If this episode resonated with you, even one part, I want to ask you for a small favor. Tap that like button. Not for me, for you, for your future self, for the man you still want to become. Subscribe if you haven't already, because this channel, it's not just about health. It's about reclaiming your power, your purpose, your pride. Leave a comment below, share your story, your question, or just a single word that describes how you're feeling right now. Because here at Max Life, we read everything. And we're building a community where men like you feel seen, heard, and supported. And if you've already commented, liked, or shared, thank you. You're part of something real. And I hope you know that. May your next decade surprise you. May your strength return in quiet, steady ways. And may you never forget. There's still more life in you than most people realize.